Welcome to NAI Global's podcast, episode 1. I'm Simon Hartzell, Director of Sales. As always, and joining me is Cliff Moskowitz, Executive Vice President of North America. And with us today is our guest, Jay Olshansky, the President of NAI Global. Welcome, guys.
So, Jay, who is NAI Global?
Thanks, Cliff and Simon, for having me today. Let's talk a little bit about who NAI Global is. NAI Global is, as the name says, a global commercial real estate services company that is located in 36 different countries, most of them in the United States, but definitely over 35 other countries. And we comprise of over 400 different offices and 7,000 individual employees and colleagues and partners across the globe. And all of these offices manage, lease, and control about 400 million square feet of property that underneath that. And we do about $20 billion in commercial real estate transactions annually.
That's great, Jay. So as a local firm, why should I join NAI Global, and how can I keep my independence?
Well, Simon, that's a really good question also. We have, well over 180 offices that some of these offices will have, 12, 14, some cases 40 different locations within their headquarter office all across the globe, as we discussed. And each of these offices are run by individuals that are highly entrepreneurial. They get to make their own decisions and how they go about, running that office and their locations that are affiliated with us. And essentially, they get to do, they get to engage whether it's locally, nationally, regionally, or even, at any level they want. And the main reason you would want to join and have your office to be part of this is that it allows you to play at a much different level than your local level. Now, if you just focus on your local level, that's fine. That's one way how you maintain your independence and your entrepreneurship. But at the same time, there's definitely deals from both owners and occupiers that are sent to and from each of these offices. And every year, that's a huge component of these offices' businesses. And if you're not part of us, you don't have that same opportunity that you would have just being a firm standing on your own in that one location.
And Jay, that highlights really well why, as an office, it's important to be part of a larger organization. But how about at the agent level? As a real estate professional, why would I prefer to work in an NAI office as opposed to some of the other firms or just a local independent?
At the agent level, it's similar to the firm level. So in a certain regard, if you're an agent at one of these locations or one of these, 400 plus offices that we have, if you focus your business just locally, which, keep in mind, 90 to 95% of most of our offices' business is still local, but you don't really need to tie yourself down at the agent level to just say, I'm a local broker or a local agent anymore. By being part of NAI Global, you can be, as I said, you can be regional, you can be national, or you can be even global or international. As I always say to people, when I answer the question, what do you do and where do you work? I turn it around and go to the owner or the occupier, where can I help you? What do you need? And it doesn't matter that, I live in New York City, but I do not consider myself a local New York City agent or broker. I consider myself a commercial real estate person that can help people just about anywhere. So that's the biggest advantage to the agent at one of these offices, that their marketplace just went from, which could be very, very, very small to very large, and that is a huge advantage. And then on the other side of that, from the agent's point of view, if you're not associated with a firm like NAI Global, there's no way that business just decides to come to you in your local market, but there's a better possibility if you're an agent with us that you make friends throughout all these different agents in different offices and different locations, and sometimes via some of our events and industry events with international contacts. And business follows people. People like to do business with people they know, people they trust, people that they can work with. So it really expands the horizon both locally and to send business outside of your local market to be an agent affiliated with one of our offices.
So Jay, in your opinion, and I think you've noted this, people like doing business with people they like. What does it take for a firm to survive in the commercial real estate industry? And what resources can NAI offer an independent firm for the future?
Well, let's start with the hard part. The commercial real estate business in general is a very difficult and a very competitive, and it can be extremely hard for a firm to survive in the commercial real estate field. You have not only local and smaller competitors that you have to deal with, other firms like yours, but you also have global competitors that sometimes, and lots of times, will have local offices like we do in your location. And that's one of the reasons that you're maybe listening to this podcast, that you are considering being part of us, because there are other global firms that already have offices that you're competing with. So that's the hard part. Plus, it's just a hard business. It tends to be a highly competitive business where there's generally, in most markets, at least 2, sometimes 5 good agents, good brokerage firms, good service providers that can deliver the same services to the owners and the occupiers that they need in that market. As I always like to say, when I was a broker, if you picked one of my good friends that I was competing with, did you make a terrible decision? Generally not. You generally made a pretty good decision because the competition is pretty good. So what NAI Global allows the individual or the individual firm the ability by associating and joining with us is that you now are able to say, you're part of a global company. You're able to say that we have the ability to compete with the global competitors and the regional competitors at a high level. Plus, we bring a lot of different resources, whether it's branding, whether it's marketing, whether it's meetings, and most importantly, we actually have real deal flow where we have owners and users of real estate that our other offices send to each other, or we, the global company, are sending to each other, on an everyday basis. So people are absolutely getting, the opportunity to do business with each other, and that's also vice versa. You also have the opportunity, as we discussed before earlier in the podcast, to say to your owner or your user in your local market that you can help them somewhere else, and you do have experts, whether it's in capital markets or whether it's in corporate services or whether it's in, landlord representation or property management.
So Jay, it seems like there's a lot of benefits to being a part of NAI. How much does it cost to be a part of NAI, and how is that price determined?
No, certainly, I have a reputation, Cliff, and, and a lot of people know that it's never about the money, but it's always about the money. So I think that's an excellent question. So we operate on a system that our offices pay an annual amount of dues or money to be an office within our firm, and then we also collect a marketing fee on top of that is collectively shared between all of our offices, and the marketing dollars are then used to do exactly as they are designed to marketing. So it's for advertising, it's for industry events, it's for training, it's for education, it's for, conferences so we can have participation at things like SIOR, CCIM, RICS, NIOP, and many other types of industry events where we get together with our clients, our owners and users that all of us represent. It's also used for direct placement of an advertisement, whether it's a brand advertisement in the Wall Street Journal or in the Southeast Regional, magazine that's showcasing some of our offices in that area, or it could be used for an airport advertisement as people are flying into one of our global market outlooks or something like that. And then the actual amount of money that the individual office pays is highly dependent upon the size of their market. So if it's a larger market, they pay more, or a smaller market, obviously, they would pay less. And then the only other thing that we really charge, and when Office A and Office B do business with each other, the receiving office, so in the case if Office A sends a deal to Office B, Office B, when the commission is fully paid and collected, we participate with a 10% fee that is paid to NAI Global. So that's how our system of payments work, and most of our offices enter into anywhere from a 3 to 7 year commitment to us, and they also have the flexibility to come and go when those contracts are up.
So, Jay, it sounds like this goes way beyond just paying to be part of a network. There's a lot more intangibles that are available to me, the business owner, as being part of NAI Global.
Absolutely. There are many intangibles, and let me give you one in particular that, we spend a lot of time working on, so we promote our offices and those people that make up those offices across the globe. It can be as simple as point of purchase signs. All of the branding of NAI Global is consistent. The NAI Global or the NAI Miami or the NAI family name in the case of an NAI Farbman and NAI James E. Hansen, all has a similar look, has a similar feel. It fits within brand guidelines. So recently on 60 Minutes, the TV show on Sunday night, I was sitting and watching a update on Chobani yogurt, and they started in upstate New York, and the founder of Chobani pulled out a flyer, and on that flyer happened to be one of our offices that since is no longer an office, but the branding of that office at the time had the NAI and the name of the family firm up there. And I got like 5 phone calls for people saying, or in texts and emails, are you watching 60 Minutes? NAI Global was just featured on there. So that's a very intangible brand and brand recognition, but it can be as simple as, people are always saying to me, I was in Little Rock, Arkansas, or I was in Minneapolis, and, I actually saw one of your signs, or I was traveling somewhere else. So all of a sudden, when your agent or you make a call on somebody, that same owner, that same occupier probably has already seen the NAI or the NAI Global in one form or another. So that's a huge intangible that by being part of NAI, your office would get. The other intangible that's happening all the time, and I do it, and Cliff and and Simon and our whole staff does this, is that we're constantly talking to owners and users of real estate, trying to figure out what their needs are. So every time, let's use myself by example, I'm talking to an owner of real estate, I am asking the owner of real estate, how can I help you? Where can I help you? And if that owner says, I need help in Chicago, I'm immediately putting them in touch with and talking about our local office there. If that owner says, I need help in Frankfurt, Germany, I'm immediately talking about Andreas, who is our local operator of our offices in Germany. And in this case, we recently had, a deal from Los Angeles, California, go to Hamburg, Germany. So it went from our Los Angeles office to our Hamburg, German office. And that commission was in excess of $500,000 that the two offices and NAI Global shared. So when it works really well. And you, by being associated with that, get the intangible that could be you. That owner, that user could still be that same person that if they then come to your town, they're going to go, wait a second, I know who this firm is. I dealt with them in Los Angeles. I dealt with them, in Hamburg, or Jay or Cliff or Simon or Bruce had talked to me about NAI Global. So those are big intangible you get by being with us.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you.
So, Jay, there's been a hot topic in the real estate industry lately on technology and emerging commercial real estate technologies out there. What technologies do you foresee the real estate community embracing, and how is NAI positioning itself to embrace that technology to be in the best position going forward?
Well, Cliff, certainly there have been lots of changes in, I would say, the last 10 years, and even some of them go back 15 years, but the technology changes in all real estate, and particularly commercial real estate, have accelerated, I would say, in the last 5 years, with a lot of both well-established companies and then also startup companies within what we would call the real estate technology space. These companies can be, as large as the largest one, which is a company called CoStar, that I would say 98% of our offices where CoStar has a service they are using. So we work with CoStar, to make sure that you, the individual office, get a discount by the volume spending that we spend and all of our offices spend with CoStar. We also work through our sponsorships of different of our events, of our firm, of our different things that go on with all of the leading and sometimes burning edge technology companies that are in the space. So we, have a gentleman named Bruce Grant, who is constantly working with, I would say, every real estate technology company that's in the space, trying to make sure that they get in front of us, our offices, and we set up webinars, we set up monthly calls, we have them attend our events, we have them present in forums at our different events. So we are basically, by being part of NAI Global, you're being exposed to all of the technology, and some of it the best in class. We also have a relationship with another firm that has dominant market share in the investment sales capital market area, and that's called Real Capital Markets. And Real Capital Markets has always been a huge sponsor of all of the NAI Global events. They know most of our offices on a first-name basis, and they essentially, provide our listing engine for all of our capital market and all of our offices investment sales. So we're constantly keeping up with this. And the other thing is we're always looking at what the new emerging trends would be. So we are, whether it's the three of us or whether it's Bruce, we're constantly meeting with these companies to make sure that we have them in front of all of our offices, and then they can make decisions whether which service is best, because just like any technology business, not everyone will be a survivor in this, but we do work with all of them because we're trying to find that one thing that differentiates our offices from our other competitors. And some of these are highly invested tech companies by real estate owners. There are multiple people that are in the space that have invested in them, and we try to educate and really make all of our offices aware of that, so they're never in a situation where they go to get some business from a real estate owner and they don't realize that real estate owner is the major investor in one of these tech companies. And if they don't mention or say it's going to be put on their platform or on their service, they're just eliminated. They're just eliminated, before they even get 5 minutes into the pitch. So we try really hard to keep everyone up to speed. And just like any tech business, it's a highly changing business every day, and we're trying to keep on top of it.
Okay, Jay. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think we want to really now focus in on some of the more challenging questions. And the first one being, if you won, or better yet, you won $10 million, what piece of commercial real estate do you purchase?
Well, it's interesting. I actually thought some of your other questions were kind of challenging, so this one is somewhat easy. So let's start with me as an individual, and then we'll go into what I'd recommend if I was recommending to you on a client, whether if Simon, you won the $10 million. So if I started as an individual and I won $10 million, the first thing I would do is I would pay, I would hope to wait that my tax cut would come and I would then pay a lower tax amount, but I would pay my taxes and I would have my, let's say $6 million plus or minus dollars that come into play. And for me personally, because I'm a little older than both you and Cliff, I actually might seriously consider doing something in what I would say is that triple net single tenant investment space. I might actually look for a very good credit or a store that I don't think is going out of business anytime soon, which in the retail space these days, you have to be somewhat careful. I would also probably want something that is fairly well located, sort of like I'd call a main and main, or, even if that tenant wasn't there, it would be fairly easy to get someone else in that space. And I might look at it from the point of view, okay, let's just go park $6 million, whether it's a 4% or 8%, depending on, the credit of the tenant, the location. And because I am a little bit older in my career in life, I might just go, you know what, making 6% on $6 million isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially if the tenant ever went out, and I could release it or sell it or something like that. So that's probably what I would do. And I also might leverage it. I might not leverage it. I might just park it and then maybe leverage it at a later date, mainly because interest rates right now, at least in my lifetime, and in particular more in my real estate career, which is now 34 years, I have never seen interest rates as low as they are today. So one argument I might make to myself would be park the $6 million and then go to some bank or go to some institution that would be more than happy to lend me, probably at least 10-year, if not longer, money for the lowest interest rate I could do. So that would be what I would do. Now, I must admit, I probably also might consider at $6 million of net income, if I hit the lottery, probably not enough to stop forever, but maybe. So, I could also pack it in and live 6 months in the Colorado Rockies or in 6 months in, maybe the Italian countryside and maybe not even think about this business. But with that said, if you had won the $10 million, I might turn to you and say, okay, you want to be in real estate, I might start with why. If you want to be in real estate, I might then go further into, okay, you are substantially younger than me. What's your investment horizon? What are your return thresholds? What are your tolerance to risk? And I might, after talking to you about that, I might say, okay, you might be able to do much higher returns than what I talked about with myself by taking more risk or taking, whether it's a value add situation or whether it's let's say a not fully leased property that you want to lease up, or if it's something you wanted to co-invest with others where maybe you take your $6 million and team it up with someone else's $6 million. Now you got $12 million. Now all of a sudden $12 million, if someone would lend you 60% loan to value, you're talking about $35, $40 million potentially in an investment. And then I would talk to you more from an advice point of view. And then with all of our different offices, I could tell you which office or location is hot, which one's on the decline, which one's on the flat side, which one is maybe on the uptick, because a lot of commercial real estate in particular can be timing and it can be where you want to invest. But it all comes back to your tolerance and what you're looking to do.
Perfect. All right, Jay, keeping things a little lighter. You're lost in the middle of nowhere and you have 1% battery life left on your cell phone, who do you call?
Okay, I'm lost in the middle of nowhere, and I've got 1% battery on my phone. Who do I call? Ghostbusters. But in all seriousness, if I thought I was lost in the middle of nowhere and had no aspect of getting out of there, I would probably call my wife. And
Okay.
I've been fortunate to be married for 32 plus years, and she's smart enough to figure out if she got the call or even got the message that I said, I'm in nowhere and I'm lost. She could probably figure out from that telephone ping how to find me, and I just have to figure out how long it would take and just survive for that point of view. But I'd also consider calling Ghostbusters because that might actually be fun.
Well, great. Guys, this is great stuff. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I'd like to thank my co-host, Cliff, and our guest today, Jay Oshansky.
Well, thank you, guys. This was fun.
Thank you. And if anybody would like to get more information on NAI Global, how to become a new office with NAI Global, you can email us directly at help@naiglobal.com or call me directly. This is Simon Hartzell at 609-945-4047. Thank you for listening.